Italy, a magnificent country.
It's all here. It's quite breathtaking.
A place where I feel deeply connected.
This is where my grandmother Polizzi's journey began.
In this series, I'm returning, but I'm leaving the mainland to explore Italy's extraordinary islands.
So beautiful.
Revisiting memories.
I haven't been here since I was a child, and I thought I'd make a pilgrimage.
And building new ones.
Yay! Buono. I mean, this is one of the maddest things I've ever done. Feels like a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
On a journey of discovery. From the ancient, rugged beauty of Sardinia,
The remains here are spine-tingling.
to the splendor and surprises of Sicily. And some of the Mediterranean's hidden treasures.
It does just feel a million miles away from anywhere else. Look at this. It's one of Sicily's most striking secrets. I can't believe it, it's been too long.
This is my Italian island adventure. My island escapade has brought me to Sicily. The largest island in the Mediterranean, mystical and ancient, Sicily is a crossroads of cultures where the East meets the West. When I was a student, I rented a car and travelled the island with a friend. It was a magical journey. This time, I'm travelling across the north, from the bustling and bewitching city of Palermo, inland to the little-known Ganci, recently crowned the prettiest village in Italy, ending up on the east coast and the ancient and beautiful city of Syracuse. But I'm starting in the island's enigmatic capital, Palermo.
I absolutely love Palermo. There's a lot of urban sprawl, but there's so much beauty.
It's the fifth most populated city in Italy. Around 1.2 million people call this hot and humid city home. With an international airport, Palermo is easily accessible from anywhere in the world. But when you reach its city centre, its hive of chaotic streets and dishevelled buildings can seem intimidating to even the most hardy traveller.
It's a slightly scary city if you've never been here before, but it repays bounteously all your patience and investment because there's so much to discover. It's one of the great cities of Europe, and any opportunity to come here is a good one.
A melting pot of history and culture, Palermo is like a beautiful dame in decay. It may not have the splendour of Florence or the romance of Rome, but Palermo has so much to offer, like the iconic Teatro Massimo. This colossal theatre is the largest in Italy and the third largest in Europe. But it's when you head into its honeycomb of side streets that you find the real surprises. And perhaps the most beguiling is Palazzo Ganci. From the outside, you would have no idea of what lies behind this unassuming door. Yet inside is the most sumptuous private residence in Sicily, or maybe the whole of Europe. A masterpiece of the Baroque style, the palazzo was constructed in the 18th century by the Prince and Princess of Ganci. It's still owned by the same family today. On appointment, the current owner, Princess Karine, opens her doors to the public. But today, I'm lucky to have been granted my own private view.
Well, this is what I call a ballroom. People come to Palermo just to come to Palazzo Ganci, and looking at this, you can really understand why. It transports you back to a completely different world. It's very seductive. What's astonishing is the family have spent 20 years restoring this place with no state aid. It is a labour of love, and that is evident everywhere you turn. Good Lord. Look at this. It's not often that a room can leave me breathless, but this room, apparently it was designed as a forest of gold. Look at that chandelier. It's got 102 arms. Imagine trying to clean it. I had heard that this was one of the treasures of Sicily, but you know what? I don't think I was quite expecting this. I've never seen a room like it. This is Versailles on a domestic scale. I want to party in here. I do, I want to, oh, what can I say, except I've got room envy.
The history of this city is not just evident in its precious palazzos and grand crumbling churches. As a city that has survived centuries of raids, invasions and conquests, it can also be found in the food that's sold on its streets. Salvatore is a street food connoisseur.
Why is street food so important to Palermo?
The main and the first reason was the best way to feed the most poor part of the population. Actually, Palermo is the first city in Europe for street food.
No.
And the number 5 in the world.
Salvatore likens Palermo to the layers of a lasagna, each one a different foreign influence. The Arabs ruled Sicily for centuries, and they have left a lasting culinary legacy here in Palermo.
This is one of the most important places for street food in Palermo. Here you can find like the best chickpeas fried of the city.
Salvatore has brought me to Franco Uvastidaro, a bar that sells chickpea fritters, a cheap and hugely popular snack in this city.
This is an easy way into street food.
Just a few seconds in the oil.
Lovely, thank you so much.
The lemon is really important. You will see it's always the last step in our street food culture because it's gonna disinfect the food just before you're gonna eat it.
This is made with just chickpea flour.
And salt. The key of like street food, it's in Palermo, it's a few ingredients.
Simplicity.
Simplicity.
It's lovely.
Another Arabic speciality that you'll see the locals feasting on is arancini, giant fried rice balls. Arancini means little oranges in Sicilian, and these hefty globes can be found all over Palermo. But Salvatore says the best ones are here at Bar Touring in the city centre.
Okay, so what are the rules about making arancini?
You're gonna put the meat in the center, like the heart of the dish. Then you're gonna cover the meat with the rice. And then you fry it for a few seconds in the oil. But in this bar, the best way that they found is use a lard to fry it. And you will see, it's so delicious because...
Right, in lard. This is not going to be a dietetic meal, I can tell.
No, totally not, actually. No. Thank you.
Buon appetito.
Grazie. So, the meat in the center, then the rice, and the shell.
It's lovely.
The arancini here weigh close to half a kilo.
My goodness. Eat one of these and I don't think you'd be moving very far, very fast the rest of the day.
The final stop on our gastronomic tour of Palermo is not for the faint-hearted. This is not your typical Italian food.
Here we are talking about splint sandwich, which is like the king of our street food. At some point, a lot of Jewish came here in Sicily. They not only created the street food, but they also create the way to cook the street food in the street. Recently, this sandwich won the title of the best street food of Italy, and the chef, Nino, when he prepares a sandwich, he will dance.
Nino is legendary here in Palermo. His bar is the place to eat splint sandwich. But to eat it, you need a strong stomach.
What goes in there?
Inside we have 3 different organs: lung, tongue, and spleen.
And it's lung, tongue, and spleen because they're cheap parts of a cow.
Exactly. So this is Palermo in a bite. We left you without words.
Tastes delicious.
I think I agree with Salvatore. It is Palermo in a bun. Unusual, edgy, but well worth the risk. And I'm about to take another as I discover Palermo's dark side. It's impossible to take a historical tour of Palermo and do it justice without exploring its dark and sinister side. For Sicily is the motherland of the mafia, and the spectre of La Cosa Nostra has long since haunted the streets of this city. But as the mafia's grip on Sicily loosens, you can feel Palermo emerging from the shadows of its ugly past. This shift can be traced back to one brave man, the anti-mafia judge Giovanni Falcone. He lost his life fighting the scourge of the mafia. As you drive through the north of the city, you may come across a strange makeshift shrine to Falcone. In front of the house where he lived is a tree of devotion, where the people of Palermo pay their personal respects to this most beloved son of the city.
When Falcone died in 1992, there were shockwaves around the world. It had been quite easy to think of the mafia until then as something that existed in The Godfather, and they were made slightly glamorous. But this, in fact, was the reality, that someone who was fighting so hard to bring kind of honour back into the judicial system here was brutally murdered. I think we all felt that there was an innocence that died that day, and that we had to face the reality that was modern Italy.
Messages of solidarity and remembrance hang from the Falcone tree. It's a touching memorial.
I was 22 when Falcone died, and in my family we talked about him a lot and about what he was trying to do with Italy. And it was a source of honour that he was so brave and so determined, so fearless. There's never enough people like that in the world. There were a lot of tears when he died. I think it was a moment of real shock for Italy and for Italians all over the world.
The assassination was retaliation for the mobsters Falcone had put behind bars. Most visitors travelling into Palermo will drive the fateful journey that Falcone took that day. He was killed in Capaci, on a stretch of the motorway between the airport and the city. He was travelling with his wife and 3 bodyguards when his Fiat Croma was obliterated by a huge bomb placed beneath the road. A mafia hitman detonated the bomb as the car drove over it. The explosion made a crater 30 feet in diameter.
That's where the mafioso who blew up that stretch of road was hiding, waiting and watching for Falcone's car. meticulously planned this whole operation, and it was done to show the might of the mafia.
These pillars designate the exact spot where it happened.
It was such a big explosion. It was amazing that it didn't decimate more people.
The killing didn't stop with Falcone. Paolo Borsellino, his closest collaborator and dearest friend, was also brutally murdered. These shocking events left an indelible mark on the people of the city.
The nice thing is that Falcone and Borsellino are remembered daily in the lives of Palermitani because they are hero worshipped by generations.
But alongside its more sobering sights, the city today is proud to show its visitors how the tide is turning against organised crime. From their office in Palermo, a group of idealistic young Sicilians run a grassroots movement called Addio Pizzo. Pizzo is a Sicilian slang for the protection money that the mafia managed to extort from about 80% of small businesses in Palermo. This group's bold idea is to cut off that supply, which reportedly provides mafia in southern Italy an estimated 20 billion euros a year. In a quiet park in the city, I'm meeting Eduardo, a co-founder of the organisation.
Eduardo.
Hi.
Salve.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Sono Alex.
For his guided tour of some of the businesses who have bravely stood up and said no to the mafia.
Addio Pizzo was born in 2004, so it's more than 10 years ago now. And it was born because of a group of young people who had a fantastic idea to print some stickers with an anti-mafia slogan and to pepper the town, basically, by night, in order to push the people to be aware of one of the main problems of Palermo. It's the protection money, so it's the system of extortion run by the mafia. When the mafia killed the prosecutors, Falcone and Borsellino, yes, with the bombs, I was a teenager. Our generation was shocked by what happened. So somehow this event really was a turning point for our generation in particular. And as soon as someone had the idea of the stickers, someone had the idea of doing something for this town, we were there. We felt that it was our turn to do something.
But it was when the campaign reached out to consumers that it really gained momentum.
Basically, it works like, you know, those signs, beware to the dog, you know? So it's like, pay attention. If you dare to get inside and try to get the money from us, we will report you to the police immediately. So basically, the mafia stay away from the shops that has this sign on it. It's a declaration, it's a statement. Here, we don't pay protection money, we don't pay pizzas, we are not contributing to the mafia.
So they know that when they come here, they're definitely not a penny of what's going towards them is going to the mafia. It's very clever.
Thank you.
Today you can eat, shop and sleep in over 1,000 establishments that have signed up to the Anti-Extortion Charter.
We had proof that the mafia is scared of the people who have the courage to stay together and rebel. Yes, some mafiosi, after being arrested, actually confessed that the mafia want to stay away from the Addio Pizzo shop.
Ah,
so, yes,
very good. That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yes, yes. They were like a sort of testimonial.
Luckily for me, my fascination with this courageous movement has brought my tour of Palermo around to one of my favourite subjects, fashion. Because one of the first companies to commit to the Addio Pizzo movement happens to be a cooperative of ladies who lovingly stitched together a legendary Sicilian hat. The Coppola goes back to peasant times, but in the 1930s this humble hat was claimed by mafiosi, who wore it twisted to the side. From its headquarters in the hills just outside Palermo, La Coppola Storta is striving to repair its damaged reputation and reinvent the Coppola for a new generation. The driving force of their ambition is head stylist Tindara. Her shop in the centre of Palermo is full of Coppolas of all styles, fabrics and colours.
Tindara? Ciao, sono Alex Polizzi. Salve, come stai?
Bene. Hai visto il nostro mondo? Il mondo della coppola.
I know, it's amazing.
La coppola è un copricapo simbolo del costume siciliano da tanti anni. Ha una storia molto antica che purtroppo nel tempo è caduta ed è diventata uno stereotipo di una cultura deteriore che non appartiene alla Sicilia. All'estero spesso è vista come un simbolo di mafia, era vista, mi piace dire. E come noi diciamo sempre, se la porta Filippo di Edimburgo è un gran signore, se la porta un siciliano è un mafioso. Questo noi abbiamo voluto cambiare veramente.
So I have to laugh because, you know, the Coppola, the shape of this hat came from Great Britain. She's very proud of the fact that although this was stereotypically a man's hat and it denoted a certain kind of person, now they produce almost as many hats for women as they do for men, and it has become a fashion item. Voglio provare qualche cappello, posso?
Ti faccio provare subito.
I want to try some.
Questo era il modello catanese.
Oh God, that's really fun. I love this fabric. È bello colorato.
Gone are the serious and muted shades of the Coppola. Now designs of every colour and pattern emblazon these hats.
Rosso è carino.
Sì.
I like it.
For around €50, it's possible to take home a hand-stitched piece of Sicilian history.
E poi me lo dai. Thank you.
Una è sempre elegante.
Oh, this is definitely the one for me.
È proprio, questo mi sembra il tuo stile.
Il mio stile.
Assolutamente.
Perfect. I've been really inspired by what I've found out about Palermo this afternoon and the people who are trying so hard to change the stereotypes that have bedeviled this island for so long. Sicily is no longer that land of the mafia myth. There is a lot more to it than that.
As I'm about to discover as I head inland to the remote and wild Sicilian interior. I'm heading inland from the delights of Palermo to the mountainous Sicilian interior and the gorgeous town of Ganci. Only a few hours' drive from the capital, this remote region is breathtakingly beautiful. You'll see wide-open vistas of bountiful fields, dramatic rocky outcrops and picturesque villages like this one that cling impossibly to the hillsides.
When people come to Sicily, they tend to stick to the coast, and it's a great shame that these parts are as yet relatively undiscovered. They really repay a little bit of time and energy because they're so unspoilt. It's absolutely stunning.
There are any number of beautiful villages nestled here in the mountains, but there's one place I had to see. As you approach it, the hilltop town of Ganci literally